Some of this work is not mine. I'm just presenting on behalf of the consortium. So disclaimer, if you want more information, I can definitely pass it to the relevant authors. So here is a model for the fire danger index. One thing we did notice is with the use of AI, you can generate maps at a very high speed, which has not been considered so far. If you use the NDVI index and combine with population data with many other parameters, you will be in a much better position to estimate repeatedly what is the fire danger index models. And this information has been generated for a sequence of days, months, events across the Puglia region, which was one of our flagship pilots where phase A, B, and C were carried out. And the use of big data framework really helped us to expedite and speed up the way in which we compute the maps. Now, this obviously uses a lot of Earth observation data sources, but we also combined with on-field data that were collected from the IoT devices that were literally being installed on the field. These devices, IoT devices, were trained to detect the early warning of smoke and fire. However, these devices can also identify towards the end of the project to have the extra capability to monitor the environment for the regeneration activity and also for the progress on the restoration abilities. Going beyond that, as we heard from previous presentation, the use of canopy models play a huge role, and having a digital representation of the wild environment also provides much more meaningful and useful insight. And here you can already see the robots with the LiDAR systems that were autonomously programmed, and the keyword is the autonomous. This was provided by our Australian collaborator, Zero, in order to generate the navigational maps and how effective are the robots on field when they have to autonomously navigate and overcome different obstacles. And this point cloud representation already generates a very detailed and accurate representation. And this was extremely useful for us to identify the risk assessment of electrical lines going through the forest region, which was the same experience we had in the Portuguese pilot as well. So in order to identify what is the risk of vegetation growth that is affecting or that is in the proximity of electricity and critical infrastructure environment. Now, going one step beyond in terms of risk assessment, in case if there is a fire, now with the use of AI, we were able to generate multiple repeated counts of different fire spread models, and that already provided a much deeper and meaningful insight into how the response coordination could potentially take place and what are the critical bottlenecks that needed to be resolved. And again, I cannot stress the feedback from the stakeholders and also from the technical development is to identify AI is great, but the speed in which we are able to compute and regenerate multiple maps and multiple runs with all the information that gets into the model already, let's say, improves the quality of the assessment. Now, one thing that we did focus on is to identify what is the risk assessment post-fire. How do we monitor, and are there any dangers of reignition and refire, let's say, the fire incidents to reoccur? And for that, there was a model that was developed for the ecological resilience. And here you can already see how the pressures and the biodiversity growth of the forest restoration activities can take place. And here is a product called Open Forest Map that already identifies how to use satellite data and then on-field data, on the ground data to combine and develop KPIs. Because whatever activity we perform, we want to be able to quantify it. And this already provides the stakeholders, in this case the policymakers and the civil protection representatives, a meaningful representation of how to interpret the actions that are being carried out and whether the interventions, what has been carried out, really results in a fruitful and a positive regeneration of the region. And last but not least, we also conducted an extensive analysis on the soil sampling and soil assessment on the impact of the fire on the soil. And when we talk about risk assessment and risk mitigation strategies, how do we restore the soil fertility? And what are the steps to be taken, and whether this can really lead to a more biodiversified or biodiversity rich environment and avoids any refire or fire ignitions or to reoccur. So with that, a broad set of results, as we said, this is a pitch exercise, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you and present many different topics in our exhibition. So thank you very much. Perfect.